What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about Viola Davis's book, Finding Me. Okay, so first of all, I had no intentions of originally reading this book. I just did not have the intentions to read it. I'm not that big of a Viola Davis fan. I feel like I'm not like a super fan where I followed her career or am very familiar with her work even. To the point that I'll say, as I was reading this book, I was like, which one of her projects have I personally seen? And it's like one thing. But everyone said that it was such a strong book and like showing of her character, etc. But I think it is good to know that I'm walking into this book not as like a super fan or even a basic fan of any sort. Yeah, so it was recommended to me. That's why I read this book. And when I tell you the wait was long, the wait was long. I listened to it on Overdrive. I did not buy it. I did not want to use an Audible credit, so I rented it from the library. But here are some of my thoughts of this book. Woo-wee, if you look at Viola Davis now, you would not know she grew up like this, honey. Like, it got to a point where I had to like Google her age and Google like I had several double takes of like, wait, how old is this woman? I was like, it sounds like her life, what she describes growing up as, is like after slavery. And like I say that very objectively. It is what she described. Like growing up, like her house, she didn't have running water half of the time. They didn't have hot water if they did have running water. There were so many of them living in one house. She uses the term pissy a lot, which is, I mean, it's an accurate description, but I know some of us don't like the word pissy. So I will say that she wet the bed a lot. Her family wet the bed a lot. So the house smelled like urine frequently. She mentions that a lot to the age that she was like 13. She said there were rats. They often didn't have power. So a lot of the stories from her childhood are just like so traumatizing. So like she's talking about, because of all those circumstances, they often didn't smell good. And like people that she trusted as a child, like her teachers, to make her feel good as a person, were like, oh, you stink and you need to go home and wash and whatever. And she would go home and do those things, and she felt, you know, some type of way that, you know, no one gave her accolades for it. But in the end, she was like, you know, you shouldn't get accolades for being clean or whatever. So her growing up was rough for her. Her dad was like beating her mom, and not like, beep, like beating, like beating. Like there's a scene where she talks about, like he was like beating her legs to break her legs, and she was screaming. And, you know, plenty of stories like that. He had machetes, bats, all this type of stuff, and he used them against their mom frequently, and that really traumatized her as a child. So the structure of the book. It's read by Viola Davis, which honestly, if you write a book and you're not the narrator, what are you even doing? But it's read by Viola Davis. And something that I really liked was that at the beginning of each chapter, she gives a quote. And they're all very meaningful quotes. Like, this isn't something fluffy. Like, they're all like, wow. To the point that when I was listening to it, I will say that I was like, wow, this would probably be really good as a hard copy. And I don't often have that feeling. But for this one, I was like, this would be a really great hard copy book to be able to sit there, read that quote, and resonate with it, because all of them were such deep things that I felt in the audio version, like you just got a little taste of it. Really, you didn't really get to feel the full impact of the quote. With her like absent parents, A lot of the time as a child and as a young adult growing up, she developed this need to persevere and need to keep going, which she described. And she said, you know, as we Black people say, and I don't know why this part really resonated with me, because I was like, it's true. And but she said, you got to just shit or get off the pot. At one point, you just have to power through and do it, or don't do it at all. So towards the end of the book, she goes through like her search for love and children joy, and then she does touch on her acting career. Obviously, like she went to Juilliard, she started small, got bigger roles. But then it's interesting because she does say that most of acting and getting a successful acting career is luck. And for like TV and film, she said once you get one good role, the rest of them just keep coming. But it's the struggle of getting that one role. And honestly, I wasn't really interested in her acting anecdotes or whatever that much. I did enjoy her speaking on like working with Denzel, working with Shonda Rhimes, and so she does talk about that. And then she also talks about meeting Meryl Streep. It's so it's interesting. So some of but none of it came from like a cocky point of view. And then she also goes on to say like the flaws of the industry and being a Black woman, a dark-skinned Black woman in the industry, which was really profound. I thought another point that she makes, not frequently directly, but indirectly, is the boundaries she made with her family about her money. Because how in the beginning, when she started to be successful, she started to like pay for everything for them when they asked for it, or like if they asked for money, she would send it. And then she started to realize that that was not sustainable for her. And I thought that was really profound, because it can be hard to be successful and have money and see those without, and then they always, you know, are asking you for things. But at the end of the day, you have to protect yourself or make bigger decisions to protect folks. Like she ended up getting life insurance for her on her parents, so that when they passed, they would be taken care of, which was interesting. So I really like that she set those boundaries. But overall, I feel like the theme of the book, or the takeaway from the book, was perseverance. Like you just got to keep pushing through. Like even if you have that shit um, hand of cards that have been dealt to you, you got to keep going. You got to keep pushing through. And then I also loved at the end of the book, and it's interesting because she ended it on this, and I feel like in my bones that she knew that this was what she needed to end the book on. She basically said that when she was little and her dad was beating her mom, she ran to the bathroom and she was like, you know, God, if you love me, take me out of this right now. And he didn't. But then as she grew older, she realized that in a way he did. And that hit me because if you're religious, you're on God's time. You're not on your time, right? And God doesn't also give you simple solutions. He's not just going to pluck you out of something. He is going to give you the tools and the skills to help yourself. You probably already have them, right? So I thought that was really profound. And I feel like the takeaway from her book was that you just got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep persevering. There are going to be hard times. There are going to be failures, but it's what you do with those hard times and failures that is what makes you successful. I thought it was a good read, and considering I'm not a fan, and clearly I have only seen The Help, which she does talk about in this book. She talks about most of her projects if you want to check them out. Considering I'm not a fan, I thought it was a good read. I am glad I didn't pay for it because I'm not a fan. I imagine if you were a fan, it would be more significant to own it, but I'm not. So definitely check it out. I would give it definitely 4.75 out of 5 stars. If you made it this far, comment orange in the comment section. Okay, bye. Bye. Like and subscribe.